Hello and welcome to Under the Silence. I'm Bianca, and today I want to talk to you about something that lives inside of all of us in some form or another: trauma. But this isn't a clinical conversation. It's not about trauma as a label or a diagnosis. It's a conversation about the human experience, about the moments that shape us, sometimes without us even knowing. It's an invitation to drop into the body, to listen to what's been held there, and to begin to understand how trauma is not just something that breaks us, but something that, in the right time and space, can guide us back to ourselves. Let's begin. And before we do, I want to take a moment to honor something important. This conversation is not meant to minimize the impact of trauma or take away from those who have experienced acute life-altering trauma in its most visible forms. Rather, it's to acknowledge that trauma exists on a wide spectrum, that many of us carry it just in different shapes, different timings, and different intensities. Some wounds are obvious, some are quiet, some unknown, others are hidden even from ourselves. All of them matter. This podcast is about recognizing those layers and meeting them with understanding. So what is trauma really? Trauma isn't always loud. It isn't always a big dramatic event. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's woven into the very fabric of our lives. A subtle disconnection, a moment of not being met, a childhood of emotional absence. And sometimes it's not just one thing, it's many small things accumulated over time. Trauma at its core is anything that overwhelms our ability to cope. It's not the event itself, it's the imprint it leaves behind. In our thoughts, in our beliefs, in our breath, in our posture, in our nervous system. It shapes how we relate to the world and how we experience ourselves. And the thing is, it doesn't always look like pain. Sometimes it looks like overperforming, people-pleasing, and being endlessly fine. How trauma shapes who we become. And then, one day, something shifts. Maybe we realize that what we thought was just our personality. Our tendency to overreact, to shut down, to avoid, might actually be something else. Maybe those patterns were survival strategies. Maybe we were protecting something tender inside. The nervous system has a memory, and when we're stuck in fight, flight, or freeze, we begin to live through the lens of what hurt us. We don't always know how to receive support. We don't always trust ease. We brace even when we don't need to. And here's the thing. What one person can move through easily might stay with another for years. There's no scale. There's no comparison. Each body holds what it holds, and each story is its own. This is where emotions come in. They're not inconveniences, they're messengers. They're how the body speaks. A tight chest, a hollow belly, a lump in the throat. These aren't just sensations, they're signals. Our emotions help us digest experience. They help us feel the difference between what's good for us and what isn't, between what we want to allow in and what we need to move away from. Healing then is not about erasing the past. It's about giving ourselves the space, the time, and the safety to feel it, to allow the body to settle, to soften, and to remember what it feels like to live without bracing. This isn't just about trauma. It's about what's left behind when the trauma passes. It's about what we've buried and what we've pushed away and what we've never had the space to feel. It's about letting the younger part of us speak honestly, fully, and allowing the older, wiser part to witness it, to hold it without fixing it, without rushing it. That's the space where integration begins. Sometimes we find ourselves living in a story that's no longer true. We're not sad anymore, we're angry, not because we haven't healed, but because we've changed and the world hasn't caught up. And the people around us, often with love, still see us the way we were. A friend still tiptoes, a partner still avoids, and without meaning to, they hold us in the very place we're trying to leave behind. It can be painful because we're not just working through our own process, we're navigating the reflections that others project back to us. Reflections that don't feel like who we are anymore. Healing is personal, but it's also relational. What we move through in our own body often reflects outward in our families, our partnerships, our communities. Sometimes we can move forward quietly, but sometimes we need the contrast, the friction to see clearly. Sometimes it's in the conflict that we gain the clarity we couldn't find on our own. Conflict, when held consciously, becomes a mirror. It shows us where we've grown and where we're still holding on. And sometimes trauma comes not to destroy, but to recalibrate, to stop us, to pull us out of the loop we didn't even know we were in. When we've spent too long expanding outward, seeking stimulation, sweetness, connection through others, food, alcohol, nature, distraction, we lose balance. We override the cues of our own system. We keep moving forward until something stops us. And sometimes that something is trauma. A rupture, a breakdown, a moment that invites us back to ourselves. I've seen this again and again in clients, in loved ones, in myself. When we go too far in one direction, trauma returns us to center. Not just trauma, but a stop or a change. And when we're frozen, shut down, emotionally unavailable, disconnected, it's not just about snapping out of it. We have to move through the biology, through fight, through flight, and back into connection. And when we stay only in the mind, intellectualizing, rationalizing, bypassing our feelings, we disconnect just the same, frozen in thought, absent from our own experience. Life isn't linear, it pulses. We expand, we retract, we gather, we give back. That's the rhythm of healing. That's the rhythm of becoming. And from that place, not from force, but from fullness, we create, we love, we lead, and we live. Trauma teaches us. Pain refines. Discomfort reveals. But if we stay stuck in reaction, we miss each other. We defend instead of connect. We protect instead of express. So we pause, we choose, we respond. And in that response, we reclaim something ancient, something intelligent, something human. That's how we heal. That's how we expand again. And maybe, just maybe, trauma isn't trying to break us. Maybe it's trying to bring us home. Thank you for being here with me. If this episode spoke to something in you, I'd love to invite you to explore more of my work. biancamerschinger.com or psychosomatics&emotionalanatomy.com. And if you'd like to support this podcast, you can head over to buymeacoffee.com, Bianca_Merschinger. This is Under the Silence, a space to meet what we haven't yet spoken. Until next time, take care of your breath, your body, and your truth. And always be kind to yourself. Bye for now.